Hi, welcome to Computing with Andy, and we are looking at human-computer interface. And in this series of lectures, we are looking at the different principles that should govern or that should guide the design of human-computer interaction. Okay, so we look at models, we look at best practice methods, and all that. All right, now in today's lecture, we are going to look at, well, the very basics of interaction design. Okay, we want to look at the design process, and this is the first part in the series. Now, let us begin by looking at what design is. Design involves achieving two things, and that is achieving goals within constraints and trade-offs between these. Okay, design involves achieving goals within certain constraints and trade-offs between these. So you're going to have goals, but there are constraints. So meaning you can't just do exactly as you may desire because of these constraints. But at the end of the day, well, you're going to have trade-offs between these constraints, which ones to go for, which ones to leave behind, depending on what are the essential benefits that need to be achieved. Now, what do we mean by goals? Here we are looking at answering the question, what is the purpose of the design we are intending to produce? Okay, who is it for? In other words, what is the intended audience? And the people who are behind this, who desire this kind of a design, why do they want it? All right, so those are your goals. Now, there are going to be constraints, okay, things that constrain you from achieving what you may want to achieve. And here we are looking at things like materials, okay, and the questions to answer include, what materials must we use? Okay, you can't just use any kind of a material, but what materials are we going to use, and what standards must we adopt? How much can it cost? How much time do we have to develop it? Are there health and safety issues? So these are what are known as things that will constrain you in one way or another. Okay, there's going to be a budget, expenses, you need to consider all that, and whatever needs to be achieved, you need to be aware of all these things that are constraints. Okay, and well, having considered the constraints which are there, you need to decide between the trade-offs. You need to choose which goals or constraints can be relaxed so that you are able maybe to meet other desirable things. Okay, so, and that is what constitutes design. So design involves achieving goals within constraints and trade-offs between these. Now, here is a golden rule in design. We say you need to understand your materials. If you're going to design something correctly, hey, you need to have a good understanding of your materials. Now, you know, when you look at this golden rule, it is very simple to think of materials when you are looking at physical designs. Okay, for instance, if you're looking at people who are into designing furniture, one needs to understand his materials. Is it pine wood that I need to use? Is it rosewood? What are the advantages or the costs of using this material against the other type of material? Or if it is a steel chair you want to make, what kind of steel are you going to use? Are you going to use tubulars? Are you going to use, well, people who are experts in that may well describe the different kinds of materials, the merits and limitations of the other type of material. Now, so when you're looking at physical design, yeah, you may consider a spectrum of such things. But now, coming to human-computer interface, the question is, what are you going to consider under materials? Well, we are looking at human-computer interaction. And the two basic materials we are looking at is the human being and the computer that this human being wants to interact with. So those are the two important materials. The thing is, how well do you understand these two materials? Now, the thing is, when you look at computers, of course, we need to understand what things can a computer do. What is it capable of doing? What tools do we need to create this system, this computer system or information system or software system? What platforms can we use? What operating systems? How will it be able to work on different platforms and all such? But then coming to people, we are designing this information system or computer-based system for people to use. Now the thing is, we also need to understand this material component we call people. Here we are looking at what are these humans capable of doing? How will they interact with this system? Is it by observing something on the screen? Is it by pressing a button? A human being is able to speak. Will the computer system be able to recognize the voice of this human being? Okay, if this human being is deaf, what other things is a human being capable of doing for which we can build a certain capability in the computer system to accommodate such an individual? And, well, how precise is a human being when performing actions? Is a human being prone to making errors? If yes, what shall we do about that to ensure that the system is still reliable despite the these limitations that are in this human being? So on people, we need to know capabilities. We need to know psychological and social aspects. We need to know issues of human error, and how are we able to design an interface that accommodates all these things. Now, I need to mention at this point that, you know, what used to be the tradition, and well, not what used to be, because it still happens, you will have software developers, software engineers, well, work on a system, develop it, and maybe launch it, and people begin to use it, and oh my, then you begin to notice problems where maybe the system is not as easy to use, or maybe it does not have sufficient interactivity to achieve certain goals users have. And usually what would happen is, it's at that point now that panic sets in, and HCI professionals are called upon to try to rectify or correct the problem. So HCI professionals are often called in too late. Okay, systems are often designed and built, and human-computer interface experts get called, well, only when a system proves unusable. So the thing is, the issue of usability comes in as an afterthought when you see, oh, here there's a usability issue. But it shouldn't be like that. You see, usability needs to stand at the center of everything you're doing in software development. So there's this misperception that usability is just equivalent to testing a system. Maybe before releasing it, before launching it out, let us see how usable is it. And that often leads to very costly problems. So, other companies, business organizations, they've woken up to that fact that, usability has to be designed in the whole project life cycle. From the beginning, you need to take into consideration usability issues. You don't just do it as an afterthought. So from the beginning, when, you are just starting to plan what this system has to do, what is it required to do, and what will be its functionality. And in those early stages, human-computer interface professionals have to be involved. Okay, and so, there are many benefits that have been proved to come out of that, and as we shall shortly see in the next episodes of lectures. And now the big question we are looking at in this unit is, how can human-computer interface be made to fit in the software development process? Because it is not just as simple as saying, well, you know what, HCI needs to be integrated into software development right from the beginning. The big question is, how do we do that? Okay, watch the next lecture for you to understand that. Thank you.